still remember that day. When I was standing there, dressed in white, people around me were crying, but there were no tears in my eyes. It felt like my soul had dried out, like I had already died from the inside, even though I was still alive. In front of me, there was a wooden coffin, and inside it was my husband. Or maybe just his body, because his soul had already left me long before that day. I kept staring at that coffin, without blinking, as if I couldn't believe any of this was real. People came to me trying to comfort me, but their voices felt so far away, as if I was standing in another world. And then suddenly, the phone in my pocket vibrated softly. My breathing instantly became faster, because at that moment, receiving a message didn't feel normal at all. Slowly, I took out my phone. An unknown number was glowing on the screen. My heart started pounding rapidly. I opened the message. If you want to know the truth, come alone. Trust no one. My fingers began to tremble. My mind filled with questions. Who sent this message? Why? And most importantly, why now, when my husband was lying dead right in front of me? I read the message again, as if maybe I would understand something more. But every time, those same words shook my soul. I looked around. People were still crying. But now, something felt strange. Something felt wrong, very wrong. Every face looked like it was hiding something, like behind every pair of eyes. There was a secret. Then my eyes stopped on my mother-in-law. She was sitting on the ground, crying. But in her eyes, I saw less pain and more fear. And in that moment, I felt it. Something was not right. Something was terribly wrong. Slowly, I stepped back, moved away from the crowd, and walked into a corner, where it was just me and my fast, uneven breathing. I held my phone tightly, as if it was my last hope. And then, I made a decision. I had to go, no matter what. I had to know the truth, because now, this wasn't just a message anymore. It had become the biggest question of my life. Without telling anyone, I left. With every step, my anxiety kept growing. It felt like someone was watching me, like someone was following me. But every time I turned back, there was no one, just silence, and the sound of my heartbeat echoing loudly in my ears. I reached the place mentioned in the message, an old, narrow street, where darkness was stronger than light, and every wall felt like it was telling a story. I slowly moved forward, step by step, and then suddenly, I heard footsteps. My breathing stopped. I froze completely. And then, a voice that tore through my soul. And that voice, it was soft, but there was something familiar about it, like I had heard it before. My heart stopped for a moment, and slowly, I whispered, "Who's there?" But there was no answer, just silence. And then, a shadow stepped out of the darkness, slowly, very slowly, until it came into the light. My body went numb. My eyes widened in shock, because the person standing in front of me was my husband, or at least someone who looked exactly like him. The same face, the same eyes, the same presence. But how was that possible? I had just seen his coffin. I stepped back. My breathing broke apart, but he raised his hand. "Don't be afraid. I'm alive." Tears filled my eyes, but they weren't tears of happiness. They were fear, because my mind refused to accept what I was seeing. I looked at him carefully. This isn't possible. If you're alive, then who was in that coffin? He took a deep breath, like he had been waiting for this moment for a long time. "What you saw wasn't me. It was a plan." My mind spun in confusion. "I had no choice," he said. "If I hadn't done this, I would be dead for real." My blood ran cold. "What are you talking about?" He stepped closer, lowered his voice. "Your life is in danger." My soul trembled. "The people around you, they are not who you think they are." Faces started flashing in my mind. My mother-in-law, my family, everyone. "That house," he said, "it's not a home. It's a trap." "Why?" I whispered. "For money. Everything. Your property. Your assets. It's all in your name." The ground beneath me felt like it disappeared. I had never realized how much was at stake in my life. He told me everything. How he found out about the plan to kill him. How his own family was involved, and how he staged his death just to expose them. My vision blurred. The place I once called home was actually a center of betrayal. He held my hand. We have to be careful now. If they find out I'm alive, they'll kill both of us. My breathing became heavy again. But this time, along with fear, I felt something else. Strength. I looked into his eyes. I'm with you, no matter what happens. He smiled slightly, but even behind that smile, there was fear. Then he told me the plan. We need proof. We have to record them, watch their every move. And most importantly, you have to act normal. As if you know nothing. I nodded, even though inside, I was already broken. But I knew one thing. There was no turning back now. I was going back to that house, a place where every smile hid a dagger, and every night gave birth to a new conspiracy. But what I didn't know was that before I could even return, someone already knew everything. And somewhere in the darkness, someone was waiting for us. When I stood in front of the house again, my hands trembled slightly, but this time, it wasn't fear, it was preparation, like I was ready for war. I slowly opened the door and stepped inside. Everything looked the same, but today, everything felt different. The walls felt like they were watching me, every corner, hiding a secret. I walked into the living room. My mother-in-law and the others were sitting there. As soon as they saw me, for a brief moment, shock appeared on their faces, but it quickly disappeared, replaced by fake sympathy. This time, I could see it clearly. I sat down quietly, lowered my gaze, pretending to be the same innocent, unaware woman. But inside, I was watching everything, every word, every expression, every movement. That night, I went to my room, but sleep was far away. Silently, I took out my phone and turned on the recording because I knew something was going to happen. After midnight, I heard a faint sound outside my door. I held my breath, moved closer, and slowly opened it, just enough to listen. And what I heard shattered my soul. We have to get rid of her too, my mother-in-law's voice. As long as she's alive, we're not safe. The ground slipped beneath me, but I stayed still, kept recording. Then another voice spoke, and this time, it broke me completely. My own brother. Don't worry, he said calmly. I'll handle everything. By tomorrow night, it'll all be over. Tears filled my eyes, but I didn't make a sound. Because now, I finally understood everything. This wasn't just my in-laws. Even my own family was part of this. I went back to my room silently and waited for morning, but that night became the longest night of my life. Every second felt like a burden on my heart. Morning came, and I acted normal, as if I knew nothing. But inside, I was ready to end everything. I left the house quietly and went straight to meet my husband. I told him everything, played the recording. Anger and pain filled his face, but he controlled himself. It's time. We went to the police, gave them all the evidence, and a plan was set. That night, everything happened exactly as they planned. But this time, we were ready. The police were watching, and the moment they made their move, they were caught. Red-handed, my mother-in-law, my brother, all of them, arrested. The same shock on their faces. That once lived on mine. But now, the game had changed. Truth had won, and lies had lost. A few days later, I stood there again, but this time, with a new life. Beside me was my husband, not just my partner, but my companion in battle. We looked at each other and smiled, but behind that smile was everything we had survived. Because now, one thing was clear. No matter how deeply the truth is buried, one day, it always finds its way out. Emotional and motivational speech